Hey guys, so before we get started, hey, I just wanted to make another one of these quick announcements just before the video. So, like I said when I was making my Naruto review, I mentioned how now with my tracheotomy tube, we made it so that um we put something over it to stop the air from escaping my tube, and that was this one. Well, this is my actual tracheotomy tube that I use all the time, that I'm always using because, like, I'm always having to, like, put this on and just put this Firmavent over it all the time. This is the one I use a lot of the time, but as you know, like before, I was always having to put, like I said a few videos ago, I was always having to put my thumb over the hole just to stop the air from escaping my body, so that the air wouldn't escape from my body, so I could talk longer and speak clearer. And then we used this one to try to stop it. My dad put this thing over the tube to stop the air from escaping, but as you can see here, it was still moving, so then the air was still like escaping out of it, and I was constantly having to push it back, but the air was still escaping. But now we actually put this new one in where we actually glued another piece around it so that this way now the air won't be escaping so quickly. So yeah, now I can finally talk properly with my tube like this, and the air won't be escaping from my body back anymore, like as I'm talking anymore. So yeah, I just wanna again if it is actually making any kind of improvement, then do tell me because the past few times I've used it has been working out, but I just want to ask any of you guys if it's actually working out and if you guys can hear me properly as I'm talking. So yeah, I just wanted to say that before we got started. Alright guys, so now we're moving on to an anime review that I've been really, really, really excited to talk about for a while, and that's Hunter. I've wanted to do, I've really wanted to talk about this series for a while because I love this series so much. It was created by Yoshihiro Togashi, who also created Yu Yu Hakusho, and this is a series that I've been really interested in for a while. And yeah, when I'm talking about this anime, I'm obviously going to be reviewing the 2011 anime, and I'm going to be talking about the series art by art, and I'm giving my thoughts as I'm talking about it. So this isn't the first time I've spoken about Hunter on here. I've done a couple videos before just talking about things like that, and I've shown paintings of some of the characters, and I did a review of my own collectible recently, and so yeah, there's that, and there's a lot of things that I'm hoping to do really soon about this. But for now, I really wanted to talk about this show because yeah, I've been doing these anime series reviews for a while now, and this is another one that I really wanted to talk about as well. And this was actually voted as the greatest anime of the 2010s, and I completely agree. This was what got me into it originally was that I was hearing something from it on YouTube, and I've seen some clips from it. So in 2019, I originally was I was originally watching the first 10 episodes or so, but then I stopped until December that year where I watched more episodes, and then I stopped again because I was watching it on YouTube, but then the playlist I was watching them on got taken down. But then a friend of mine told me about a website where I could watch anime online for that. And so I was watching a lot more episodes when I was doing that. And I made it up to about episode 111, and the website I was using didn't have any more subs episodes after that. But shortly after that, they revealed they were going to be releasing the series here on Blu-ray. So ever since November last year, I've been collecting the Blu-rays, and I've been released. And I'm so glad I did, because I had an amazing time with this series. So the story is set in a fantasized version of Earth where there are these people called the Hunters who are basically people capable of doing various dangerous things like exploring mystical places and finding dangerous treasures and among other things. And on an island called Whale Island there lives a 12-year-old boy named Joan Freet who is curious about his dad named Jin, who apparently left him there when he was a baby in the care of his aunt named Miko. And now you're encountering a man named Kite. Joan decides he wants to become a hunter to try to find his dad. The only way to become one is by taking the hunter exam. And so then he takes part in it and he meets new friends and foes along the way. The friends he meets there are Leorio, Terapia, and especially Killua. And the main enemy he meets there is a magician-like character named Shizuka. And so after completing the exam, he sets out with Killua to try to find Jin. So, in the beginning, I will admit, the first arc of the series, that being the Hunter exam, is, in my opinion, the most shonen-like arc in the whole series, meaning it acts like a lot of other shonen properties and follows some familiar beats. But that doesn't make it bad, not one way a bit. It still takes well for the most part. Yeah, there are some things that can go on for too long, in my opinion, but this arc does still have a lot of great moments. First, I like how the series is set up with how it introduces all the characters. Joan is a pretty cool protagonist, and he does some really great moments in this, and the others are great too, like I said, and in my opinion, Killua is my favorite character in the series, and while his best moments aren't here, in my opinion, there are still a lot of cool moments with him here. In particular, one moment where he killed a guy by literally ripping out his heart. That was really cool. And Leorio and Terapia are great too. Leorio is really funny and acts like a big brother figure to all of them. And Terapia is pretty cool too, with a pretty tragic backstory as well, with being the sole survivor of his family, and now he wants revenge on the group called the Phantom to recover the eyes of his family. And some of the other characters' paths are tragic too, like Leorio who lost his friend to a disease and now wants to become a doctor to help other people in similar situations like that. Plus, not only them, but the villains are really great too. Like the biggest one I can think of is Shizuka. I love Shizuka so much. He's just so much fun to watch. It might technically being a terrible murderer, but as for the art on its own and with its content, it's mostly pretty good. I really enjoy how the Hunter exam is mostly like a bunch of games or something. I really enjoy that kind of thing in a lot of anime and manga series, and it's really fun here. Like I said, well, there are some times sometimes where it can feel like it can drag on a bit too long, like when Joan and the others have spent some time in a room alone for a few hours, and we spend some time with them and there, and so, and that can be kind of going on a bit too long in my opinion. But yeah, but the main thing I enjoyed while watching it was the friendship develop, especially Joan and Hillwood. In my opinion, the Joan and Hillwood friendship is my favorite friendship in all of anime, and the two of them together made both scenes really fun. And then at the end, when we see them have a tournament-like thing where Joan is fighting Hanzo, and Hanzo is just destroying him, it's pretty tough to watch, but it does have some pretty funny moments, and especially a really funny ending. But the end of the arc is kind of tragic as well when we see Hillwood's brother make him quit the exam and fail it. But it was nice when Joan, Leorio, and Kurapika went to Hillwood's home to help him and get him back. And so, yeah, the Hunter exam itself was still a really fun arc. There were a lot of great moments in it, and yeah, there were a lot of really fun moments throughout the entire arc. So after that, Joan and Killua say goodbye to Leorio and Kurapika and go to Heaven's Arena to train. Now, Heaven's Arena is where I think the series really gets going. Yes, the Hunter exam is a great start to the series, but I don't think it really gets going until this arc. And it's a really fascinating arc. First off, I love the introduction to Win and Juicy. They're both extremely likable characters, and they're so much fun. And then we're introduced to the concept of Nen, which is this series version of a power system like Ki or Chakra or Spirit Energy. And the idea of this is genius. Nen is often hailed as the best power system in all of anime, and while I'm not absolutely sure if I agree with that, I can at least say I understand, and it's close to being my favorite at least. And I like how there's different types of it, and different types, and people can be different types, like how Joan is an enhancer and Killua is a transmuter, and this greatly helps with the future fights for the series because it helps make the fights more unique since the characters are different types of Nen users. And I like how there are more and different type properties of Nen. It helps make the concept of Nen more unique, and everything else that helps and everything else that happens in Heaven's Arena is truly well, like the fights that happen there. That's something I haven't mentioned yet. The fights in the series are incredible. Maybe my favorite fights in all of anime. This series was done by Madhouse Studios, and the way they animate the fight scenes are mind-blowing. And I love it in a show, I might have mentioned it before, where I love in a show where you can feel the impact of an attack of the tremor in every fight, and that's what this series does in every single fight scene. I love it. And the fight in Heaven's Arena are great, and in my opinion the best one is the last one with Joan versus Shiso, which is, in my opinion, one of the best tournament fights in all of anime. Even if Joan does lose, plus it does also have some funny moments as well. And I like the anime version of it too, where again, just because it's animated so well, you can just feel the impact of all these acts. And even if and even if Joan does lose, there are still some great moments in it. And I like how Joan and Killua leave juicy and win after this because it makes it nice when they reappear later on. Anyway, after that, there's a small part where Joan and Killua go back to Whale Island and Killua meets Jones and Mito. I like this because it gives them more character when they're talking about what they're going to do next, and it's a cool setup for the next part of the series. And I'm talking about how it sets up the next arc, which is Resort New City arc. And I'm not gonna lie, this might be my least favorite part of the whole series. I know some people say this is their favorite arc in the series, and it definitely has some fantastic moments in it that I love, but there are some things in it that I don't like all that much, and some things in it can be kind of boring and feel like they can go on for too long, and yeah, and don't really go anywhere either. I know for some of these that kinda intend to know, but I don't think that really helps. However, like I said, there are still some great moments in this, like the introduction to the Phantom Group, who are generally regarded as one of the best villain groups in anime, and there's a good reason for that. Unlike other villain groups in anime, these guys are completely unique, and it's cool that you actually grow to like these guys despite the terrible things they do. And it's great to see a villain group that isn't super generic like other ones. And it was all so cool to see Karapika be the main focus of an arc like this, because we see him join a group to protect someone to help find and kill the group. And he does have a lot of great moments in this, like when he fights Eugene from the Phantom Group and kills him. Also, the show is really brutal in my opinion. Like, honestly, there are some really brutal things in this series, but I'm surprised we're even allowed into a Shonen Jump property. I know other Shonen Jump mangas can be brutal at points, but it's hard to imagine some of the gruesome things that we see in this were actually allowed into a Shonen Jump property. But it's still cool. However, again, I do feel like some parts in this arc go on for too long. Like there's a large portion of it is talking about auction, because Joan and Hill are trying to get a copy of a game called Reed Island, because Jin left a memory card for Joan to find and play it, and Joan is doing this as a way to help him find Jin. And anyway, yeah, some of the auction stuff can go on for too long, and it doesn't really amount to much because they kinda abandon it to get the game in another way, and so it can feel like a waste of time in my opinion. But again, this arc did have a lot of great things in it, especially just seeing Joan, Killua, Leorio, and Karapika back together again. But then they go their separate ways again once Joan and Killua are able to play Greed Island, and the way it works is that they use their Nen to teleport them inside the game itself. And then we start the Greed Island arc, which is in my way, which I honestly think is a really underrated anime arc, because I love it by the story. For one, I really like when we meet Bisky. I really like Bisky. He's really likable and really funny, and the whole idea of Reed Island is extremely fun, with it being a game you can literally interact with, because for the game you have to collect 100 specific cards, and Joan and Killua do this while also learning more about Nen from Bisky. see. So most of the art feels like it's a training session for the two of them, and since the ninja dummy so well thought out, it's mostly really interesting stuff. Something about it are definitely more interesting than others, but it feels great to watch. And the main thing I love about this art is the dodgeball segment where Young Hiwa and the team up with Cecil right and some other people like Uranu go up against Razor. The whole dodgeball segment is extremely fun and one of the absolute best parts of the series. It also made Cecil even more likable. He was already a really likable character before this part, but this made him even better, and everything to do with that part was so much fun. However, this art does have some problems. For one, and something do go on for a bit too long, like I said, and some of the training stuff and maybe go on for a bit too long, and the whole thing of trying on and going on with the whole training thing, and maybe a bit too specific, like they do give a lot of explanation for the whole ninja and how these new properties work, and most of it is interesting, but sometimes it can feel like maybe a bit too much information at once, and another thing that can go on a bit too long is when they're talking about like the whole card thing with explaining how the card system works, and the biggest problem with them is the main villain of it, Art Jinfru. In a series with really fantastic villains who aren't generic at all, Jinfru comes off as the one exception because he's just a guy who kills people just because, and he's kind of boring, but him being there did lead to the awesome Yoan versus Jinfru fight. That entire segment is really incredible, and again, really brutal for a shonen series, but it was still a really awesome fight scene. But the rest of the art is still really fun in my opinion, and I do think it's a really underrated anime story art. But then after that, we reach the pinnacle of the whole series, the Chimera Ant arc. This story is close to perfect as an anime art can get. Yoshihiro Kogan, he put this story together fantastically. I like how it starts with Yoon and Kiwami in Tais again, and we learn more about him as a character. And we learn that she's investigating a species of the Chimera Ant who can kind of evolve in a way. And we then see Joan and Hero going with Ty to try to help him investigate it. And along the way, the Chimera Ants themselves are trying to help their queen eat people who eventually give birth to the kid. And this is another part that's pretty gruesome because we see innocent people, including children, get eaten by this thing, and it's pretty unsettling. Anyway, the queen also gives birth to the royal guard, Piho, Yuppie, and Poof, and Piho even manages to kill Ty with triggers and anger and Jones, so he and Hero go back to try to train to fight them. And I really like when we see them training with Knuckle and Shoot while Nehru goes with Moro and Nob to try to kill the ant. Though again, some of those scenes feel like they can go on maybe a bit too long, but eventually the queen gives birth to the kid himself, Meruem. Like I've already mentioned Meruem a lot on here, and everything I've said about him before is still true. Like I said, he's my favorite villain of this series and one of my favorite characters in the whole series as well. I also I also do believe that he's Yoshihiro Todashi's best villain ever too. He's just so interesting and so well written, and it's kind of weird with him too, because he's a character who does so many terrible things and kills so many innocent people and kids, but he never once comes across as unlikable, and he's completely sympathetic. But anyway, back onto the theory. I like a lot of what happens after this with Moro and Nob interacting and trying to fight some of the ends and going into a lot still training with Bitsy again. However, again, like I said with some of these other arcs, there are some problems I have like this, like there's a big portion of it dedicated to Joan and Killua being separated and they have to fight some ends themselves. And while there are some cool moments, I feel like it goes on for too long, and some of the fights against the end feel kind of pointless. But behind dedicated to that is all does also go on to Meruem as well, and it's great to see more of him because of just how fantastic of a character he is. But even if some of those fight scenes were kind of pointless, it was all made up for during the palace invasion where Joan, Killua, and Naruto, shoot Moro, Itarudo, and Meleron all team up to try to invade the palace the palace that Meruem and the Jars have taken over to try to kill them. And this entire part of the series is by far my favorite part because there's so many amazing moments. We see the majority of them fighting Yuki and Pooh while Joan and Killua are trying to find peace. Joan wants him to heal Tight, thinking he's still alive, and Peace can heal him. And this is where we see more of what Joan really is. He may appear as a happy young boy for most of the series, but there's a lot more of an intense nature behind him, where he does some pretty dark and selfish things throughout. And this is the pinnacle of that. There's so many instances in this arc alone where he acts kind of like a monster and does something that a villain would do, like when he threatened to kill Tomoji, who's this little girl that Meruem has been trying to beat in a game called Yunji, which is a board game that Tadashi created for the series. And Tomoji has helped Meruem grow and change, but in the palace invasion, she gets injured, and Meruem had Peace trying to heal her, so he does, but Joan, because he's so angry and so full of hate, he threatens to kill her just so that Peace will do what he wants. It's pretty surprising to see a shonen protagonist do something like this. And so, throughout the entire palace invasion, there's so many standout moments, but one of the biggest ones is the Netero versus Meruem fight. This entire sequence is so incredibly animated and insane. But another great moment is the Joan versus Piso fight, where when Piso eventually reveals that Tight is dead and there's nothing he can do. So in this moment, Joan becomes consumed with so much sadness and despair that he makes a vow with his Nen to transform him into an adult version of himself with all the power he would ever have just to kill him. And that whole segment is also disturbing. Just seeing a person throw their life away just to kill some other living creature like that. And at this moment, Netero was actually poisoning Marilyn, which means he was going to die. And so we see Yuki and Poopy and both get killed because of a poison as well. And then Marilyn decides she wants to spend his last few hours playing Unity with Tomoji. And yeah, like I said before, this entire sequence is heartbreaking. Just seeing the two of them playing and then they just die after Marilyn has been through. And then it's sad just to see Marilyn die, just see because of all the things he's been through, and he's been through so much development that it's so tragic to see him die, and it's honestly gut-wrenching. And I watched other people's reaction to this scene on YouTube, and they all always get devastated during this scene as well. And it's not just Marilyn, but because of how likable Tomoji was, it's tragic to see her die as well, because since she's close to Marilyn, because she's near Marilyn, she just gets a bit of that poison as well. But the last part of the anime is great too, with Joan in hospital almost dead, with Killua trying to save him, deciding to use the power of his sister named Aluta to save Joan. Aluta has another personality inside her named Nani, who can grant wishes out to do different requests for her, and Killua uses that to save Joan. But during the segment, we finally meet Joan's dad, Jin, properly, and he is dismissive of visiting Joan in hospital, and so Leorio is angry at him for that, and we get this really, really awesome scene where he confronts him and just punches him in the face with his net. That part is really cool and really satisfying. But then after Joan is saved, first he actually meets Tyson, who's actually been reincarnated as another Chimera Ant-Man Reina, and so it was nice to see Joan get some closure for that kind of fit part with him. But then he goes to see Jin, and it's really sad when we see both him and Killua part ways. They don't know when they'll ever see each other again, and so it's sad to see them say goodbye to each other like this. But this leads to Joan finally meeting Jin and having a nice conversation, and Jin mostly telling Joan about the bigger world out there, and the last few minutes of the last episode, they're mostly spending time just seeing a lot of the characters and just seeing where they're being left off, and they're mostly in a good spot with each other with where they are. And it's kind of different in the manga, and I say that because the Hunter x Hunter manga is a lot like the Berserk manga in that sense, because like I said before, this series is constantly on hiatus, and the anime only finished at that point, even though the manga is still going, and that's pretty disappointing, because I love this series so much that I really would love to see more material from it. But as for this anime itself, it's fantastic. I love this series, and the plotting for it is incredible. The animation is, in my opinion, feature film level, and it's gorgeous. Both this and Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood are both animes with the best animation I've ever seen. The dubbing is all so fantastic. Because, there are so many great performances in this, like Christina V and Erica Mendez, Joan, and Killua are both fantastic. But the rest are fantastic as well, like Erica Harlow, Tarapika, and Matt Mercer as Leorio, and especially Keith Silver as Shizuka. And the rest of the characters are great too. There are so many, they're all just so likable and and one throughout the entire series are really fun to watch. It especially during the Chimera Ant part where there are so many likable characters in that. And like I said, the action scenes are just amazing. These are honestly the best anime fights I've ever seen in anime, like I said. Aside from like this and Naruto are kind of tied for that fight in my opinion. I could watch these fights forever because they're just that good. And the thing I've said before about the villains it's really well. The villains in this are so brilliantly written for the most part that it helps make every character that much more likable. And the show's also really funny. There's a lot of funny moments, and I like the journey that a lot of the characters take. Especially Killua. We followed him and Joan through most of the series, and he's the character I like the most, and there's so many incredible moments with him. I especially love how he's mostly being manipulated by his brother Illumi by being too scared of anyone who would be stronger than him by a needle in his brain. But then during the Chimera Ant arc, he's able to rip it out of his brain and act for himself by he's able to act on his own completely. And I just love Killua so much in this series, and I believe the series would not be what it is without him, and he's easily the part that makes the series what it is. So really, yeah, this series is really fantastic, and I absolutely love it. I would love in the future if we got more volumes in it, because he is able to finish the story that they continue with the anime as well. So yeah, if you've never seen it before, I would highly recommend you do, because it's so good. And so yeah, I would definitely recommend watching Hunter x Hunter if you're able to. So yeah, everyone, so that's my review for Hunter x Hunter. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all liked this video. If you did, then please like this video. Please comment down below to tell me what you think. Please follow me on Twitter at DanielMaloney, and Disney fan writer Kingdom Hearts and Disney Police every day. And please subscribe for more content like this coming soon. I'll see you on next time. Take care.